In the shadowed aftermath of the spell plague, a world fractured into arcanocracies lingers on the brink of a quiet uprising. The Quellfolk rebellion, a clandestine society born from the ashes of a forgotten era, emerges as a beacon of defiance in a realm dominated by wizardry. This rebellion, scarce in numbers and compelled to operate in utmost secrecy, traces its origins to a pivotal discovery. A tome lost to the sands of time for 3 centuries, unearthed by simple peasants in the ancient ruins of the world that was. This ancient manuscript, penned by an unnamed wizard shortly after the spell plague's chaos subsided, held truths long concealed by the ruling spellcasters. It chronicled the lost history of the world that was, and the devastating saga of the spell plague, knowledge deemed forbidden by the wizards who now govern the fragmented arcanocracies. The tome's revelations, initially shared with Eldrin, the village's hedge mage, a figure too insignificant in arcane prowess to be privy to the spellcaster's guarded secrets, ignited the first sparks of the Quellfolk rebellion. Let's say it is his turn to activate. This wizard, who is not Saruman, tells his minion, who is not Uruk-hai, get on that side of the building. And because the gap here is more than the diameter of the base, you have to do the jumping check. To do that, we roll 1d6. On 1-2, the unit fails and falls, so we have to put him down there. And the next action they are going to perform will cost 2 actions instead of 1. On 3-4, your unit does cross the gap, jumps over it, but that is it. He cannot move the rest of his movement to move. On 3-4, he jumps over, but his action is done. On 5-6, he jumps over, and he can still use the remaining stride in this action. Pyromancer can cast a spell called Magma Eruption. On the result of 3, it makes a piece of terrain closest to his target a dangerous terrain. And in the previous version of the rules, if he cast that spell on Uruk-hai right here, this is not Uruk-hai by the way, this piece of terrain would get a trait dangerous. And as Uruk-hai here, who is not Uruk-hai, is within 10 centimeters, he would get affected by that piece of terrain. You see that this distance, which is almost 10 centimeters, is huge and doesn't make any sense. I don't know who wrote that spell, I did. But now it is fixed, and the new rules state that dangerous terrain affects anyone within 4 centimeters, which makes more sense. For those who do not know, dangerous terrain work this way. Units who end or start their move within 4 centimeters of a dangerous terrain roll as many dice as points of vitality or endurance that they have. This not Uruk-hai has 2 points of endurance. We take 2 dice, roll. For each result of 1 damage is dealt to this unit. There is also a change to Magma Guardian territorial rule. If before the area in which an enemy unit had to end their activation was within 20 centimeters, which is more like this, it has now been decreased to 10 centimeters. There was no change to the bodyguard rule. If not Saruman deals damage to Pyromancer and the Magma Guardian is within 20 centimeters, just like he is right now, he can jump in front of the Pyromancer and get damaged for the Pyromancer. Choosing to play Quellfolk Rebellion You refuse to make yourself a wizard, and instead you customize a folk hero. When you start, you have 22 points to spend on the hero's characteristics. That's the first step in the customization of your warband. You will start with a basic profile of a folk hero. You have to choose a melee or shooting keyword. You will have a fury of 1, parry of 1, stride of 8 centimeters, endurance of 1, fortitude of 6 up, and a trait called Ring of Protection. A folk hero is a common peasant whom the members of Quellfolk Rebellion chapter elected to be their captain. During the ceremony, each folk hero is granted a Ring of Protection. Ring of Protection is the most common artifact found in the modern world of Arkanum. It grants the wearer a chance to mitigate damage dealt by magic spells. The Ring of Protection trait: whenever your folk hero is dealt damage by a wizard spell, you may roll 1 die per 1 damage received and use your fortitude save to save that damage. After you use up the 22 points
was
to
more than
assign
30
characteristics,
centimeters,
you may move to the
usually
next step
our
of
fury
folk hero
effectiveness would go
customization,
down,
which
and
is
we would hit on
assigning
5s.
artifacts.
But because of the bow, we're still hitting on 4s. Also, we are increasing the fury effectiveness of these attacks by 1 because we're shooting at a wizard here.
The next artifact is a chest piece of spell reversal. Let's say that the wizard targets the folk hero with his attacking spell. And let's say that that attacking spell was cast very well, and it is going to deal 3 damage to the hero. I would roll 2 dice for the hero, and unless there is a result of 6 on one of the dice, nothing happens. With a result of a 6 on at least 1 die, you can deflect that damage to the enemy unit that is within 16 centimeters of your hero. Let's say there is an enemy here. This enemy is dealt 3 damage, and your hero is fine. If the result of this roll was 2 6s, that damage is deflected back to the wizard, and your hero is fine. The third piece of artifact that you can equip on your hero is the ever-changing banner for 2 points. At the beginning of each of the hero's activations, you can choose one of the 4 effects that your banner will grant to your allies. If you choose to have an image of a lion on your banner, you will grant +1 to fury to every allied unit within 16 centimeters of the hero. If it is an image of a bull, that will be +2 parry. If it is an image of a boar, +1 to fortitude. And for the image of a hawk, it is +8 centimeters to stride. The next artifact is a Shield of Absorption for 3 points. It is the most expensive artifact that the hero can equip, because unlike most of other artifacts, the effects of this one are not random, and they work every time. So every time your hero becomes a target of a spell, the casting result of that spell is decreased by 1. Stone of Teleportation for 2 points. Once per activation, you will be able to move a gathering point represented by this pin into a base contact with your hero. The gathering point is where the members of your Quellfolk Rebellion chapter spawn every turn. So this grants you an ability to be a little bit more flexible with where your troops are coming from. Because in the beginning of the game you set up these markers on the battlefield and they stay there for the length of the game unless you use this ability granted by the artifact. The Sword of Spellbreaking. This artifact may be equipped only by a melee hero. Every time the hero equipped with that blade deals damage to a wizard, that 1 damage removes 2 points of warding instead of 1 from the wizard. The next artifact is simply the Horn. For 1 point, it grants your hero an ability to encourage your allies to stay on the battlefield. Normally, the members of Quellfolk Rebellion have to make a courage test every time they are dealt damage as a result of an attack by a wizard, or if they are dealt more than 1 damage in 1 attack. If they do not roll 4 or more, they are destroyed and must leave the play. And the Horn here increases the acceptable result of that courage test by 1. Now your allies within 24 centimeters of the hero pass the courage test on the result of 3 instead of 4. The Vial of Spellcatching for 2 points allows your hero to feel like a wizard. Whenever the hero or a unit within 16 centimeters of them is chosen as a target of an enemy spell, your hero may choose to bottle that spell, and the next time your hero is activated, you may choose to cast that spell with a casting result of the original cast -1. The Demonologist here uses an attacking spell to attack the hero and chooses the hero as the target for that spell. Now the hero must choose to bottle that spell or not to do that. Let's say the hero decides to bottle it. Now we do the casting roll for the Demonologist, and we get a result of -1.
The spell is now bottled. We write down the name of the spell, the result of -1, and during any of these heroes' activation, the hero may spend one action to activate that spell. The spell will be activated with the original result, which was -1, minus another 1, which will be the result of -2. If the result of the original spell was, let's say, 2, this spell from the bottle would be cast with the result of 1. Now the bottle is empty, and it can catch another spell. Next is the water skin of renewal for 1 point. Once per game, your hero will be able to use an action to drink from the water skin. When that happens, the hero restores 2 points of endurance instantly, and then at the beginning of each of their activation, the hero will restore another 1 point of endurance until the end of the game. This artifact gives you a choice. You may want to activate it in the first ever action in the game to get that 1 point of restoration every turn and maximize the usefulness of the water skin. Or you might want to keep it till that time when you need the endurance points the most. And the last artifact is the wooden boots for 1 point. The boots let the hero ignore the effects of difficult terrain. They also allow him to automatically pass jump tests. Just gives more versatility, more mobility to your hero. Let's now talk about the expedition. Before the game starts, you will be able to customize an expedition of 5 rebellion members in addition to your folk hero. Among other things, the strength of the Quellfolk rebellion is in their ability to replenish those numbers in no time. To show this, we will be using the mechanic of gathering points. Those are 3 counters that you put anywhere on the table before the game starts. These 3 counters have to be at least 18 centimeters away from enemy units. Also, unlike with wizards, the folk hero cannot summon his allies. He starts the game with all of his allies within 10 centimeters of him. During the gameplay, at the beginning of every round, before the first activation, you will be able to activate gathering points. To be able to activate the gathering point, 2 requirements must be met. The first one is that you have fewer than 6 units under your control on the board, including your folk hero. And the second one is that there are no enemy units within 8 centimeters of the gathering point. The enemy will have power to deny you a return of your members to a gathering point or to the game if they manage to place a unit within 8 centimeters of each of your gathering points. Once you activate a gathering point, you roll a d6, and on a 3-up, you may return 1 destroyed rebellion member back into the game. They are then put in the base contact with the gathering point, and each gathering point may be activated only once per round. Unlike the summoned units that wizards employ to help them in their duels, the Quellfolk expedition consists of real people. This is why you have an ability to customize every one of your members. The customization rules for your rebellion members are similar to the folk hero. You will have 8 points to spend on each member of the expedition to set up their characteristics. Like your folk hero, they start with a basic simple template with a fury of 1, parry of 1, stride of 8, endurance of 1, and fortitude of 6 up. Unlike the folk hero, they do not start with any traits. The cost of each characteristic is the same as for the hero. There is only one difference. 1 point of fortitude for your folk hero will cost you 1 point, and it will be 6 points for 2 points of fortitude, which will make your folk hero fortitude characteristic 4 up. This is different for your rebellion members. To raise their fortitude from 6 up to 5 up, you will only have to spend 1 point, and if you want your fortitude to be 4 up, you will spend 3 points to go from fortitude 6 up to fortitude 4 up. The rebellion members do not get to equip artifacts. Their equipment is much more simple. You will only have 2 points to spend on each member's equipment. Each equipment piece gives your member a trait of the same name, and just like with the folk hero, there is no limit to the number of pieces equipped on a member. However, in the case of rebellion member, you do not choose whether they will be melee or shooting during characteristics distribution. The keywords of shooting and melee come from this equipment. This is why there is a certain limitation to customization of equipment. A member may not equip more than 1 piece that grants shooting or melee keyword. Using the example from the book, you will not be able to equip both a bow that gives you a shooting keyword and a throwing net that also gives you shooting keyword. But you may equip a bow and, let's say, sword and shield. In this case, your member will have both keywords, shooting and melee. For 1 point, you may equip a bow, which gives you a shooting keyword, and nothing else. Sword and shield for 1 point will give you a melee keyword, and in addition to that, you will be able to activate the defensive stance for free without using an action. For 1 point, you may equip a throwing net. It gives you a shooting keyword, but your shooting attacks will not follow normal rules for shooting. You will still have to use half of your fury for the shooting attack, but you will not deal damage. As this is not damage, the enemy unit will not be able to use their fortitude characteristic to negate the effects of your attack. It doesn't matter how many dice rolls result in a hit. If you have at least one hit, the next action that the target enemy will do will cost it 2 actions instead of 1. And it is important to note that this is not working on large units. For 1 point, you may equip a spear. It gives you a melee keyword and increases the unit's control zone by 2 centimeters, which in total will be 4 centimeters now. For 2 points, you may equip a ranger kit. This kit gives you a melee keyword. This is a dagger that is included in the kit. And because a dagger is not as deadly as a sword or a spear, you will use only half of the fury characteristic to make melee attacks. The kit allows you to add 8 centimeters to your stride and ignore the effects of difficult terrain. And I left the spell book for 2 points for the last. Together with the ranger kit, it is the most expensive equipment for 2 points. It changes the name of the unit from Quellfolk Rebel to a hedge mage. In the world of Arkanum, hedge mages are sorcerers who are employed to serve peasants, people in villages, in small towns, and assist normal folk with their everyday life. A hedge mage knows only 2 spells from one magic school of your choice. You have to make this choice when you are customizing your expedition and not during the game. Because of how weak hedge mages are in comparison with wizards that we are used to in this game, hedge mages may not use special rules of the chosen magic school. For example, if you choose pyromancy as your magic school, you will not be able to generate flame points, or as a demonologist, your hedge mage will not be able to offer soul shards to greater demons. The 2 chosen spells must be from 2 different spell types, and you also may not know spells from summoning spell types. To cast a spell, the hedge mage must use 2 actions instead of 1. And to represent the lack of control over their powers, the arcane mastery of a hedge mage is always 6, which means you will have to roll 6 dice to cast a spell. The last special rule we're going to talk about is only a human. Even though the peasants of Quellfolk Rebellion are prepared for the horrors that they're going to face, trying to fight the powerful wizards, they are still just peasants. As I mentioned while talking about the horn artifact for the folk hero, every time an expedition member is dealt damage as a result of a spell cast by a wizard, or they're dealt more than 1 damage as a result of a single attack, they must roll a courage test. To do it, you roll 1d6, and unless the result of this roll is 4 or more, the unit is destroyed.